stupidly epic. Hello everybody! Welcome back to You Got 5 Minutes. Today's game is BlazBlue Chronophantasma Extend on the PS4. What is BlazBlue, you might be asking yourself? If you've not been living under a fighting game rock for the past 10 years or so. BlazBlue is the successor to Guilty Gear. Guilty Gear was a fantastic series of fighting games on back on the PS1 it first came out, and then PS2. They kind of skipped the PS3 era because there's some like legal dispute or like rights dispute with like Sega or something like that, but they brought it back, and it's now like they've kind of retroactively put it on the PS3 and the PS4. Like Guilty Gear's back again, and it looks better than ever, really. But BlazBlue was kind of like their PS3 sort of like while they couldn't make Guilty Gear essentially, while they were in that sort of rights kind of problem with Sega, they made a new fighting game called BlazBlue, and it's essentially just Guilty Gear. You got the same kind of archetypal characters and all that Guilty Gear has. You got the kind of rush down characters, you got the power characters. Like, one cool thing about this game though, right, is that I mean, there's plenty of things cool about this game. First of all, it's anime as all hell, so if you're into anime at all, this would be right up your alley. Like, down to the point where it's like there are subsections of the game dedicated to just like the story, and you could sit. Like, if you're into like visual novels, you could sit for hours and hours and hours just like going through each character's story. Like there's sections of character story that are like half an hour to an hour long. Each little chapter is nuts, and it's all fully voice acted and everything. It's total insane how crazy sort of like lengthy it is and convoluted and all that. It's like, if you're totally into like anime, like, I think you'll totally love this game. And I mean, it's made by Arc System Works, so like they made, like, again, Guilty Gear. They made Persona, like the fighting game Persona 4 Arena, and Arena Ultimax as well. They've made other fighting games like Under Night In-Birth and everything. They're also making the new Dragon Ball Z Fighter Z game, like the 2D like 3-on-3 like Dragon Ball Fighter game. So like they've got an awful lot of fighting game pedigree behind them. And man, BlazBlue is like one of the most fun fighting games you'll ever play. Specifically due to one little mechanic that they added in that wasn't in Guilty Gear. They added in a system called Drive, which is each character has a specific trait that they can use. Like, if you've played Mortal Kombat X, or is it Mortal Kombat X? It might not be. No, it's sorry, it's Injustice. If you've played Injustice, you can tap the circle button and each character can like do something specific to that character, you know? Well, in this game it's the cross button. So if you tap the cross button, each character has a specific thing. Like, there's a character in the game that's like, that just does parries. His name's Hakumen. You can essentially block any attack whatsoever if you time it right. You can total parry their attack and like counter attack. Like, and it's just the drive button. And depending on whether you're crouching and pressing the drive button, or whether you're jumping and pressing the drive button, it's all different. Like this guy here, Volkenheim, the character that I'm playing as right now, his drive is that he can turn into a werewolf. And you can see like the little purple meter just above his super meter. That's like his like time, like how much time he's got remaining while in werewolf form. If it runs out, it takes a wee while to recharge. But yeah, like every character has something specific to do with them, and man, there's like so many different like cool things like in the game. It's absolutely incredible. Man, like there's a character who's just like, he's just essentially like a cloud of poison. Like he's this kind of like horrible like plague cloud thing. and he's able to like rain down status ailments on your opponent, you know. So if you use his like drive, you can essentially like poison the enemy, and like their health will slowly go down. So it's like kind of these almost like RPG elements, like poison and curse and things like that, but like in a fighting game. There's a guy that can manipulate gravity. His name's Tager, Iron Tager. He's able to pull. He's able to essentially pull enemies towards himself so he can grapple them. He's like a big grappling character, but he can magnetize them essentially and like pull them towards you, pull the enemies towards him. There's a Rachel Alucard. She can like control wind, and like all of her special moves are essentially based on like you being able to control the wind. So she can throw out like little like electric frogs and like pumpkin heads that like get more powerful if you throw them into the enemy using the wind ability, you know? So all these characters have all these totally amazing things going on about them. And it's excellent to see, like, such an amazingly balanced game out of stuff that's like essentially like modifiers. Like all these drives modify how the game actually feels to play. Like when Tager's manipulating the gravity, or like he's magnetized you or whatever like that, you don't move the same way that you would normally move if you were playing your character, because Tager can essentially drag you towards him and you can't do anything about it. Like you can pull yourself away by jumping backwards and things like that, but it's different, you know, it feels different. Like all these modifiers make the gameplay unique, depending on who you're fighting against and what you're doing to them using the drive or whatever character, you know. So it's a very, very deep, very varied fighting system. I still prefer Guilty Gear because that's like, you know, that's the one that I played first, and I totally just really, really enjoy the characters and story. That's not to say that this game is a slouch in that regard, though. That's like insane. Like I think here, like the one negative I've got is essentially like these portraits and like the text over the characters, over the sprite work is like my biggest gripe, because the sprite work in this game is absolutely so nice, so fantastic, that it's like it's kind of doing the game a disservice by covering the characters up while they're talking with like giant portraits that like take up like 2/3 of the screen, you know. It's still like, the game's fantastic though. The game's absolutely phenomenal. What else? The music's great. The voice acting is fantastic. Even the English voice acting is great. Man, I could go on forever. I could go on for ages about how Arc System Works is like probably the best fighting game developer ever, but they never get recognition because they're not making these big name games. They're not Street Fighter. They're not Mortal Kombat. You know, they're not even King of Fighters. You know, like to a lesser extent, you could see King of Fighters in that kind of same category, but still, more people know about King of Fighters than they would do BlazBlue or Guilty Gear, you know, and it's a crying shame, because these games are probably the deepest fighting games. Like, if you get yourself sort of stuck into these games, they are some of the deepest, most rewarding fighting game systems you'll ever come across. Like, same goes for any other fighting games, you know, like the Persona 4 Arena or whatever, you know, like anything like that. Like all these games that they make are just so unique, and they feel rewarding to play, because like once you get a character down, you know, each character feels utterly unique, and that goes for like Guilty Gear as well. Yeah, I can't say enough nice about this game. And like I said, if you're into like story, this game has like story by the absolute bucket load. There's more story in this game than there is actual game to the game. There's like categories upon categories. Like, you've got the basic sort of like character storylines, and that'll take you like ages to get through. And then you've got the comedy storylines that'll take you ages to get through. And then you've got these like sub-storylines about a girl who's like a guy, but she's like the guy's transformed into a girl and things. It's just absolutely insane. They've went above and beyond in terms of like this game is, in terms of like like this is like a voice actor's dream job. This game, like, are you going to work on the new like? By the way, man, I'm working on the new BlazBlue. Man, you're going to get like your voice acting chops around this game, because there's so much dialogue, there's so much talking, and I mean, for some people that could maybe be a detraction, you know, that could be like a negative, because it's just like so talky and so lengthy and so convoluted. But luckily, most of it is relegated to the story mode of the game, so you can just sit through the story if you want to listen to a cool story and like listen to all these fun, quirky characters going through their stories. But then there's this really, really meaty fighting game in there as well, that if it gets its hooks into you, it'll have you playing for ages. Like, this is probably the most cost-efficient fighting game ever. And the best thing about it is this is not even the newest one. There's one out as well. The newest one out is called Central Fiction, and it adds more characters. They're even adding a new character in a patch called Jubei, like sometime down the line. I think it's the end of summer. Guys, I can't say enough good. Like I said, enough good about this game. I could have went on for ages, but I'm going to end it there, guys. If this sounds like if you're into fighting games or if you're into anime, give this game a shot, because it's absolutely probably the premier anime fighting game that you could possibly ever play. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye. For anybody looking to get themselves into fighting games, if you're not already into fighting games, here's like a wee list that I've made up. Kind of my picks for the ones that I like the best. If I've missed any out though, like if you're a fighting game fan or you're a fighting game addict like I am, you can maybe suggest one in the comments below. Thanks very much, guys.